Okay, welcome everybody to the sixth and final session of this course called Basics of Bhagavad-Gita. So let us start the session by calling out and attracting the mercy of the Divine. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, everyone excited for the last session ever? Not ever. Okay? Just the last session of this course. It's called Different Yogas and the Topmost Yoga System. Okay? So, the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to have a recap of the last session. So, what did we say in the last session? We say that there is one Purusha, meaning an enjoyer, and that is God. So, we have God, and he is called Purusha, which means enjoyer, and he has got two energies. It's called the spiritual energy, and he's got a material energy. Yeah. So this material energy is what we know as nature, while spiritual energy are all of us known as souls. Okay, so are you seeing now how we are linking the different topics that we were discussing? That first we discussed soul. The soul is actually under what? Called energies. Yeah, these are both energies. So we discussed God, we discussed souls, we discussed nature, and the souls and material nature are within one, which is called the God's nature, energies. Next, we have that we souls, we are rebellious, and our position was to be the energies, which means we are the people who are to be enjoyed by who? We are supposed to be enjoyed by God. Just like a father and a son. The father produces kids because he wants the kids to love him, right? But if the kids grow up and decide to go their own way, then you would label those children to be rebellious towards the wishes of the father. So, the souls in the material world are known as rebellious souls, and because our constitutional position is to be enjoyed and not the enjoyer. But if you want to be the enjoyer, Krishna sends these rebellious souls to the material world. Okay, so that they can fulfill their desire. So Krishna indirectly creates the material world through his three Vishnus. The Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Okay? And then Lord Brahma is the secondary creator, and Lord Shiva destroys the universe when the time arises. And universes are constantly created and destroyed to emphasize the point that this material world is temporary and not our actual home. Remember that the example I said that there is mud, there is a mud pot, and then there is a potter. So the mud is permanent, the potter is permanent, but the different shapes of mud pots, they can come and go. They are created from the mud, and eventually they will return to the mud. So mud is nature, potter is God, and the mud pots are like the different universes which are constantly created and annihilated. Okay? Now, we also said that this material world is like a spider's web. We compared the two, and where we understood that the living entities are like insects, and they are bound in this spider web by something known as the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And that Krishna and his representative are the only one that can free us from the material world. Just like you cannot escape from a spider web, just like insects cannot escape, they need external help. That external help is Krishna or his representatives. And then we said that time is also Krishna's energy and must be used in his service. And then we calculated something which was mind-boggling to everyone. And that was calculating the age of the universe. which we say is equal to the lifetime of Brahma, and that is equal to 300 trillion, 311 trillion, and 40 billion Earth years. Okay? So, recap, we discussed these 5 subject matters, yeah? Kala, Prakriti, Karma, Jiva, and Ishwar. Okay? So, we said the Jiva means who am I? And then Prakriti stands for where am I? Then Karma is saying what am I doing here? And Kala represents how long have I been doing this for? And then the final thing is there anything more than this? And yes, there is. There is a concept of God. Now the process is we are stuck in the material world. How do we get from here to here? If I had to tell you, how do you get from Mombasa to Nairobi? You could say that, oh, you can fly to Nairobi, you could take the train to Nairobi, or you could take the car to drive to Nairobi, or you could even walk to Nairobi if you want. So there are many different avenues that you can take to move from Mombasa to Nairobi. So what is the process that the jiva takes to go from the material world to the spiritual world? What is the process? That's what we are going to discuss in this session. Okay? So this process is known as yoga. What does yoga mean? So yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yuj, which means to reunite or to link. Link to what? So the lords and the soul are eternally and constitutionally linked in a bond of love. Okay? So yoga means to re-establish the link between the Lord and each individual soul. So my question to you guys here is, what is our constitutional right or dharma as souls? To give you an example, we say that dharma, or to understand what that means is, dharma is that which cannot be separated from something. You can never separate something from something else. That thing's dharma. So, for example, the constitutional right or dharma of fire is heat and light, and of sugar it is sweetness. You cannot remove the quality of sweetness from sugar. If you do it, then that thing cannot be called sugar. Yeah, sweetness is the dharma of sugar. Heat and light is the dharma of fire. Okay, so the soul's constitutional right or dharma is to love and serve, and this is what we do. Each and every single one of us in this world is either loving and serving themselves, their senses, other people, or the world at large. Yeah, they are always loving or serving somebody. Yeah. But what we understand is, when we try to love and serve people of this world and things of this world, I don't need to tell you this, but sometimes you're going to experience that all this loving and serving people in this world simply ends in frustration. How many of you have felt this? That have you had tension with family members or work colleagues or friends? Have you had any tension in your life? Raise your hand. Yeah? Anyone who's had any tension with dealing with other people? Yeah, you have. So this is everyone's experience. So something called Sanatan Dharma. What does Sanatan mean? Sanatan means, what does Sanatan mean? Eternal. And Dharma means constitutional right. So Sanatan Dharma basically literally means what is our eternal constitutional right or eternal function as a soul. And our constitutional dharma is to love and serve. And if you want to love and serve eternally, we need to direct that love to somebody who is eternal, and that is God. Okay? Next, we have different types of humans. Okay? We're going to say 6 different kinds. Okay? So the first one is that there are two types: low breakers and low abiders. Okay. So low breakers, that's the first one. Okay. Then what's the second one? Now within the low abiders, there are different yogis or yoga people. So we've already established that yoga means to link to God. Okay, to link to God. Now, in the abiders, these are all different types of yogis. All of these people are trying to link to God in different ways. So there's something common here. The common is that they are wanting to link to God, but there is different directions. Just like as I said in the early example, you can go to Nairobi either by flight, train, car, or walking. Different modes, and it will all take you to your final destination of Nairobi. But how long it will take you to get there, it depends on which avenue you take. So there is a second one which is known as the karma yogis, the karma yogis, and here we have a division. We have the sakama, and then we have the nishkama. Then we have, actually this is number 2 and number 3, and then we have number 4, we have the Jnana Yogis, the Jnanis, and then number 5, we have Ashtang, and finally we have the Bhakti Yogi. Okay? Okay, everyone clear so far? Okay. So let's start with the low breakers. Who are the low breakers? The low breakers are the people who have no belief in God, rebirth, or karma. Yeah. Their goal is to enjoy our material senses to the maximum, and we work hard for that. And then they have no discrimination between piety and sin, because they are only concerned about themselves and maximizing my enjoyment, forgetting about the repercussions and the consequences of my actions to other people. They are very selfish. They don't care about anyone else apart from themselves. Then we have the karma kandis. Now the karma kandis, they come between these two here actually. The karma kandis come between these two. So karma kandis, they are fruity workers, but they are superior to the low breakers because they regulate their sense enjoyment. They say that, okay, yes, I want to enjoy my senses, but I want to enjoy my senses in a righteous way. I want to follow the scriptures, I want to follow the direction of God. At least they have a belief that there is a higher authority. Their mindset and everything might be that they want to enjoy material life, but at least they are accepting authority. Yeah? So the karma kandis, they follow the karma kand section of the Vedas, and they perform various rituals for fulfillment of material desires, like, oh, I want a good son, I want a better job, I want very good health, I want to have grandchildren. So they perform different rituals for material things. Okay? Next, we already discussed, they accept higher authorities of the Vedas and demigods, and because they have accepted authority, they and their following and their faith in the Vedas and the demigods, gradually they will start to make progress in their understanding of the real purpose of life. But this takes a very long time, and in this case, it can take many lifetimes. Okay? And now Krishna, this is a very important point. Krishna calls such people unintelligent because they just want to prolong their stay in the material world instead of actually getting out of it. They just want to make their situation a bit more comfortable, but we cannot be comfortable in a very uncomfortable place, which is the material world. Then we have the karma yogis, and here I'm just going to focus on the Nishkam karma yogi because that's the highest in this section. So a person from the karma kandi section, they will realize that what they have been searching for, that material enjoyment, they will find that it always ends in frustration. It always ends in frustration. So they will see the futility of material enjoyment. Remember in the first session, I said that material enjoyment is futile because of three qualities. What are the three qualities? Do you remember? Yes? That's the last one. The first one is unattainable, unpalatable, and unretainable. Yes, these are the three things. Anything in any material enjoyment you want, first of all, it is unattainable. It is, if it is attainable, sometimes it is unpalatable, and if it is attainable and palatable, it is unretainable eventually, because at death you leave everything behind. So you cannot retain any of your material possessions at death. Okay? So it's also said in Bhagavad-Gita 5th chapter, 23rd section, text. If can I have somebody from here to read it just quickly? Sorry, 22. Not 23, 22.
An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to the contact with material senses. Also, logically, such pleasures have beginning and end, and so the wise man does not enlighten them.
Yeah, so what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna is that material happiness are actually pregnant with the sources of misery. That if you want material happiness, there will be some sort of misery that is pregnant with it. Just like the joy of getting a child first comes with the pain of labor. Yeah, if you want a child, you have to go through the pain of labor. Yeah, it's very painful. So everything that you want materially, happiness, it comes with some sort of misery. But now karma yogis, they understand that we understand that these material desires are not good for us. And you say that, but I still need to work in this world. So they cannot give up action. Otherwise, how would they maintain a body? They cannot just jump over and say that now I'm not doing anything materially. I need to still work materially to maintain myself. Yeah? So the natural position that they come to is that they come to a platform of performing detached work. Now detached work means they work as a matter of duty and not because they have material desires. Okay, they just do it because that's what is expected of them. But they don't go for it in a sense. They just do it as a sense of duty. And so one gradually gets detached by sacrificing one's fruit of labor to some charitable cause, like a hospital, social services, and all that. Okay? And by cultivating this practice of parting with the fruits of one's labors for a higher cause, one's mind is gradually purified. Now, what does this purification mean? This purification means that you're understanding that actually you are not the enjoyer of anything. Yeah? You're not the proprietor. So this change in concept in consciousness, that you're not an enjoyer but you're actually an enjoyed, and the enjoyer is who is a real enjoyer? Krishna. So by doing this practice of cultivating detachment by the process of giving charity and all that, it is purifying the mind of materialistic conceptions. Okay? So current yogis, they seek a higher understanding of something that is beyond this world. Okay. Next, we come to the Jnana yogis. A Jnana yogi tries to find God through philosophical knowledge. Right? So they understand God to be like the impersonal Brahman. Remember that we discussed the three features of Bhagwan, of Godhead. What are the three features? There is a Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Okay? Let me even write this down here somewhere. Okay, so there are three features of Godhead, where you understand that God has to be eternal. He cannot be something material, because we understand that material is temporary, and because something is temporary, and we as souls are eternal living beings, and we have come from God. So God at least has to be an eternal being. So when you get to that understanding that God is eternal, is beyond this universe, then you get to understand that He is the Sat. There's a Sat aspect to it. Then this is where the Jnana Yogis start from. They start from this level. Okay? Now their desire is to merge in the impersonal Brahman. Okay? And Lord Krishna explains that this path is ridden with great trouble and difficulty. Can somebody here read chapter 12, text number 5?
For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
Yeah, very good. So Krishna says that the people who are focusing on the impersonal aspect of God, for them to make advancement, it is very difficult, and it's ridden with great trouble. Okay? Then we have the Ashtanga Yogi. Ashtanga Yogi, we can break it down into two words: Ashta, Anga. So Ashta means 8 and Anga means limbs. So Ashtanga Yogi, they follow the yoga process, which has got 8 stages, so 8 limbs. And it starts from Yama, goes to Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi. Niyam are the do's and don'ts. Asana is sitting postures. Pranayam is controlling the breath work. Pratyahara is withdrawing the mind from the sense objects. Dharana is to hold onto the one aspect of Bhagwan's Paramatma feature actually. So Ashtanga Yogi comes here. Yeah, they are focusing on the Paramatma within. Okay. Then Dhyana is when they are meditating on each limb. So at the Dharana, they are getting a fuzzy picture of what the Paramatma looks like. And the Dhyana is like now you're making it clear focus. You're getting it clear focus by focusing on each limb of that Paramatma. And finally, Samadhi is when you have the clearest picture and you can come face to face with Paramatma. Okay? So the Ashtanga Yogi, they control their mind and senses, and ultimately they focus their concentration on the Paramatma or Super Soul within the heart. Ashtanga Yogis try to lift the soul up. You know, there are 7 chakras. We have 7 chakras in our body. So what Ashtanga Yogi does is through this process, he is moving the life force from the last chakra all the way up, finally to the top chakra, and then he will then select when to depart from this world. He can control his life force basically, and they can depart at a time of their choice. Now, at the dhyana stage, a yogi achieves 8 siddhis, yeah, which are like subtle psychophysical energies stored within the body. But these are major stumbling blocks on this path, because what happens What are these 8 siddhis? These 8 siddhis are to become higher, like heavier than the heaviest, becoming lighter than the lightest, becoming smaller than the smallest, becoming bigger than the biggest. Can somebody tell me one person who you know who has got these 8 siddhis? Hanumanji. You know, in Hanuman Chalisa it says, Ashta Siddhi Navanidhi. No. Huh? So Hanumanji is a person who has got these 8 siddhis, but he got it as a mercy, not because he followed this path. Okay? But what happens is, why this is a stumbling block is because it gives a person the feeling that they are actually God. Yeah, when you are able to perform these sort of supernatural and superhuman prowess, it can be a major stumbling block. It makes you think that you are Bhagwan yourself. And from there, there's a fall down. Yeah, so these material powers are considered to be insignificant and irrelevant because they are only material. It's not spiritual. Okay? And then Arjuna himself says in the Gita that this process that you have described to me is actually not practical. Can I have somebody from the middle table read chapter 6, verse number 33?
Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable, for the mind is restless and unsteady.
So even Arjuna, he is saying that this is not practical for me. So if Arjuna cannot do it, for at least us in this age, we are not going to be able to do it. Okay? Next. We now come to the last one, which is a Bhakti Yogi. So what is Bhakti Yogi? This is the yoga of selfless, ecstatic love of God by rendering devotional service. Okay? Just as I said, that love is not a noun, but love is a verb. It's a verb. You show love. You don't say something that you love. Okay? Love is shown through actions. Yeah? So we do that by rendering devotional service. And how we do that is by engaging all of our senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. Okay? Now, Bhakti Yoga helps us to transcend all material designations, purifies the heart and senses, and arouses love of God within. Okay? And the way we do this is through the 9 processes that are delineated in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Prahlad Maharaj. He says that the 9 processes of bhakti are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Pada Sevanam, Dashyam, Sakyam, and Atma Nivedanam. Meaning hearing, chanting, remembering the Lord, worshipping the deity of the Lord, offering obeisances and prayers, serving the Lord's lotus feet, acting as a Lord's servant, being friends with the Lord, and surrendering everything to the Lord. If one person does even one of these things perfectly, they will be able to invoke and evolve and understand or they get perfection in Bhakti Yoga, which is culminating in getting pure love of God. And it's only here that this Bhakti Yogi understands Bhagwan's highest feature. Okay? So, the Brahman feature means that we understand that God must be eternal. The Paramatma feature is like, okay, the God is eternal, but He is also very cognizant. He is spread throughout the universe and He is within me, He is everywhere, and He is a conscious living being. It's not that He is unconscious, He is conscious. And then that consciousness is shown fully in the Bhagwan aspect, where you have Bhagwan in his two-handed form as Shyamasundar in Golok Vrindavan, and he has relationships with his devotees, and that is the highest understanding of God. Okay, and that is only accessible to the people who are in Bhakti Yoga. So now we have something known as the yoga ladder. So we said that these are the 6 different types of human beings. That means that these people have different understandings and consciousness of what God is. Yeah? And so they try to reach God through their methods, and their understanding of God also gets more and more refined. So people who start at this point here, they have no access to what Bhagwan is. They might just start here. They might only know this much. As people progress from this side, their understanding progresses. Okay? So, as I say, that there are not many paths to God. There is just one path, but that one path has got many different levels. Yeah, that's why it's called a ladder. See, a ladder is unidirectional. It just goes up, but then there are many steps. There are many steps. So you find a step where you are comfortable with, but then you don't stay there. You eventually start climbing it. Okay? So, and the topmost rung of that yoga is Bhakti Yoga. So, Bhakti Yoga is also a cheat code. How many of you have been to high skyscrapers? There's 2 options, right? You can take the elevator or you can take the stairs. So, Bhakti Yoga, although it is the highest point here, it is also a cheat code because it can also act like an elevator. Whichever point you are at, you can just take the elevator and reach all the way here, if you so desire. But then there are some people who said, no, if I take the easy way out, I will work through it. I will go through all these processes, but not realizing that it can take many lifetimes to go through all of this. Okay? Now, Bhakti Yoga is actually independent, while all other yogas are dependent on Bhakti for its perfection. If you want perfection in Karma Yoga, eventually you'll have to come here. If you want perfection in Jnana Yoga, eventually you'll have to come here. If you want perfection in Ashtanga Yoga, eventually you will have to come here. Okay? But if you start here, this is the end. So you can start at the ending point in a way. The progression on the yoga ladder depends on the purity of consciousness required to perform it. As I said, people here, the first one, are very materialistic, but people here are completely spiritual. So, what it means is you find your position here in the meaning that according to the purity of your consciousness, of your desires, if you have materialistic desires, you are going to be towards this part here. But if you have already cultivated spiritual consciousness and spiritual desires, then you will be somewhere here. And people who are bhaktas, they are already understanding that this is the truth. This is where I need to be. So they already have the goal in mind, and by doing spiritual practices, their consciousness is coming more and more spiritual. Okay? So purity of consciousness is determined by how spiritual your desires become, which come about through increased knowledge, and not just material knowledge, transcendental knowledge, and detachment from the material consumption of life. Okay? So now let us try to illustrate what this means. So at the bottom level, you have the low breka, then you go up to the karma kandi, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and finally bhakti yoga. So this indirect method is like the stairs, but there is a direct method known as the elevator. Okay? So far so good? Okay. So what is the difference? So the indirect method versus the direct method. So indirect method is going through this whole process, and then the direct method is just doing bhakti yoga. So in the indirect method, there is gradual progression and it can take many lifetimes. But in the direct method, it can be very quick progression. There was once a devotee who asked Prabhupada, how long does it take for me to reach God? And Prabhupada said, 1 minute. If you can surrender yourself fully, it can take 1 minute for you to reach perfection in Bhakti Yoga. Okay? Indirect method, it is limited by one's endeavor and purity, Like again I said, some people like to take the stairs instead of taking the easy way out because they feel like, you know what, I can do it, I can prove it to myself that I can do it. But what happens is that we are all limited people. So we are limited by our own endeavor and purity. But in the direct method, we already said, oh, we already surrendered to Krishna. So Krishna, you take care of me now. So Krishna comes, or his representative comes, and will help you progress. Okay, you get the mercy of Krishna and his representatives in the bhakti method. In the indirect method, somebody might not even reach the final goal. The final goal is to understand the Bhagwan aspect of God. They will just finish here or here. They will never understand this part. But in the bhakti method, if you just start here, you already know what the final goal is. So you're just working your way through it to get to the final goal. You already know the destination. Here you might not even know what the destination is. You might start off to go to Nairobi, but you reach Machakos and you think that is Nairobi. Yeah? So that's what happens. Now, this indirect method is actually fraught with many difficulties, as we saw Krishna say and Arjuna say that Krishna says for a person who is a karma kandi, these people are unfortunate and unintelligent because they just think that the aim of life is to stay in this material world in a more comfortable way. And then Ashtanga Yogi, we saw that Arjuna said that this is not possible for me to do. Yeah, it's fraught with many difficulties. But on the other hand, Bhakti Yoga is very easy and is joyfully performed. Okay? Now, I want to try and illustrate this point in also in a different way, and hopefully this will try and keep everything, make everything come together. Okay, how many of you have studied topology? Have you seen like topographies and all that? Like how would you show different elevations on a 2D paper? Like you've seen in army, in the army as well. They have like a landscape of what the terrain is like, but to show which part is more steep than another part, they draw circles. And they draw circles. So we are going to try and understand this through like a topographic illustration. So at the complete bottom, think of this like you're looking at a mountain from the top. If you're looking from a mountain at the top, the biggest part is going to be at the base, and then the summit will look like a small point in that entire circle. So just think of it like you're looking at a mountain from a bird's eye view. Okay, so right at the bottom or the base, we have something known as the materialistic life, where we have the low breakers and the karma kandis. These people are mostly in the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion. Remember, we discussed the modes in the last session. So now I'm trying to bring everything together here. Okay, for these two people, because they are very much materialistic and thinking that material life is the best life and there's nothing more than this, there is no liberation for them. Okay, one step higher. Let's go to the next step. What this shows is that all these other yoga systems, as we said, yoga means you're understanding that you want to connect to God. So already you're transcending the materialistic conception of life, and you know that you're seeking something higher than this. You don't know what it is, you don't know whether it's the Brahman or the Paramatma or the Bhagavan. So all these other yoga systems are focusing on 1, 2, 3. These ones are focusing on these two aspects. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, they rely on the mode of goodness. Remember we said that ignorance, passion, goodness. It's only in the mode of goodness can one understand spiritual knowledge. Okay, they can start understanding spiritual knowledge and have a transcendental goal. They understand that they want to transcend the material world and go to a spiritual world. We have no idea what it looks like right now, but we will gradually move and gradually increase our understanding. Okay, and this gradual progression happens with increased knowledge and detachment from Karma Yoga to Ashtanga Yoga, and the goal is the Brahman realization or the Paramatma realization. Okay, And finally, the summit. The summit is known as Bhakti Yoga. Now, this Bhakti Yoga is something that only happens when you transcend the three modes of material nature and you enter the transcendental mode, which is known as pure goodness. This means that you have now transcended the material modes. And this is where you have perfection of purification and you get to the final point, which is Bhagavan realization. Okay? Does this make sense? Okay. So, before we go further, let me just try and make this even easier to understand. So hopefully this table is going to summarize everything that we have discussed over all our sessions, okay? So let's start. The first one, we are going to cover the knowledge that we covered in the last session, starting with material nature. The first one we had was called, the first mode is called ignorance. What's the next one? Okay, passion. Then goodness. And then yes, you have pure goodness. Okay? So that's what we understood in the last session. Okay. So this is the material nature one. Okay. So now let's go one step further. Now let's go to karma. Remember this the class we did on karma? How many of you were there for the karma class? Karma class, okay. So where does vikarma come? Where do you think vikarma comes in these four stages? Ignorance, yeah. So we said vikarma means any activity which is not prescribed in the Vedas, and these come under the mode of ignorance. Then we said karma. Where does karma come? Yeah, it actually comes in both of these. It straddles. It is here and it is also here, because we did say that karma means also pious activities. Pious activities also in the mode of passion. And then what is the last one? So what is akarma? Yeah, but what is akarma? What is the definition of akarma?
Serving the spirituality of God.
Yeah, so spiritual activities. So we have akarma here, okay? So you see how this is already, we are covering karma section here. Then what did we say? That in the soul class, we discussed the three different aspects. There is the gross body, subtle body, and soul. Okay. So where does this come? So we say that the gross body comes under the mode of ignorance, because when we start thinking that we are not the soul but we are only the gross body, we are going to be very materialistic in our lifestyle, because we think that this is the be all end all of life, to maximize our senses enjoyment forever. So when you only think that you are the gross body, then you are acting on the level of ignorance. Then we have the subtle body. Okay? And then this is where we start thinking that, you know what, I'm actually more than my senses. I'm my mind, I'm my intelligence, I'm all of these things. That these things make me. And so there's a bit of a higher understanding that, okay, I'm not only gross body, but I'm also a subtle body. I have a subtle body within me. So at the subtle body level, you're acting in the passion, because this is the driver of the subtle body. Has comprised of what? Three things. mind, intelligence, and false ego. So the mind is the storehouse of our desires, right? And we understand that, and we act according to that. And sometimes we don't only looking for sense enjoyment; we are looking for mental enjoyment. Yeah, we are looking for say self-respect. We are looking for self-esteem. We are looking for reputation. Now, reputation has nothing to do with your senses, but the mind is known as the sixth sense. Yeah, it's called the sixth sense for a reason. So that comes here. Passion is a function of the mind. Now here we have the soul. One person will only be able to understand that they are the soul when they can at least come to the mode of goodness. When they get to the mode of goodness, they are able to understand scripture knowledge and really understand that they are not the gross body, they are not the subtle body, but we are the soul. And we are linked to God as the super soul. Okay? Yeah, we are linked to God as a servant of the super soul. And understanding of that comes under pure goodness. So that was the soul session. So which of the session are we remaining now with? What are the five topics? This is the material nature, karma, soul. What else?
Time.
Okay, time may not be here, but what are the one? God. Okay. So in God, what did we say? The what type? How many different types of gods are there?
Number.
No, features, not features. Types of God. Okay. Who do? What type of people worship ghosts and spirits? Huh? People in the mode of ignorance are more prone to worship ghosts and spirits, and basically not anyone but not God. So these are known as the demonic people. The demonic people are under the mode of ignorance. Then you have some people who worship and adore fellow human beings and their material successes. So people in the mode of passion will start worshipping other humans. Yeah. Then the people in goodness will start worshipping demigods. And finally, the people in the pure goodness will start worshipping. So we have either Vishnu, the Vishnu Tattvas, yeah, stroke Bhagavan. Okay, so you can see that how everything is linked. Yeah, everything is linked. The main thing is this material nature. Okay, the three modes. Because remember when we did the last session, we said that the three modes they pervade everything and they are present everywhere. Okay, and you can see how they are present everywhere. They're present in the type of activity you do, the understanding you have of yourself, the understanding of who to worship. Yeah, the three modes play a very critical role in understanding this. Okay? Any questions here? Yes.
I think it's very important for you to also explain that somebody is not entirely in mode of ignorance or passion or goodness.
Yes.
Always one is more powerful, but the other two are also there and also interchangeable.
Yes, and this is just for ease of understanding. Yeah, this is just for ease of understanding. Anything else? Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. So as we said that you can come into Bhakti Yoga from anywhere else. Yeah. So at any stage of the yoga ladder, you can take to Bhakti. So say for example, somebody decided to start climbing the stairs, and maybe it's a 50-story building, and after the 10th story, they said, I can't do it anymore. So what you do at the 10th floor, you take the elevator and you say, okay, now take me to the 50th floor. Okay? So at any stage in the yoga ladder, one can take to bhakti. And what is the one thing that one needs to take to bhakti? The number one thing is association of devotees. And association of devotees is needed to go from any stage you are in the yoga ladder directly to the top. Okay, so you said like, okay, you can say that, but show me examples. Give me evidence. So the evidence of how we had a person who was a law breaker, who was a completely materialistic person, and directly went from stage 1 to stage 6 is Mrigari the hunter. There was a hunter called Mrigari, and just by the association of Narad Muni, his entire consciousness changed from a very materialistic way of life to a completely spiritual way of life. And then you say we have different sons. So from Karma Kandi to Bhakti, we have the example of King Prachina Parishad. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. Then from Jnana Yogi to Bhakti, we have the four Kumaras, Brahmaji's four sons. And then from Ashtanga Yoga to Bhakti, we have the example of Durvasha Muni. Okay, so the Srimad Bhagavatam is replete with examples of how people in different ranks actually achieved Bhakti Yoga, and the common factor in all of this is that they had an association with a devotee. Okay, so now we conclude and say that why Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga system. Okay, because first of all, this is what Krishna says. Yeah, Krishna says that Bhakti is the topmost. Now, where does he say this? So, can I have somebody in that table read to me chapter 6, text number 47. It's just here. You don't need to look at it. Does anyone want to read it out?
And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
There you have it. Krishna says it himself that the one who renders transcendental loving service to me, Bhakti, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga, means in the connection, and is the highest of all. And this is very clear. Krishna clearly says Bhakti Yoga is the topmost. Yeah? Then what does he say? So now people will be like, okay, but Bhakti Yoga, people who are Bhakti Yogis, they are very sentimentalists. They are very much of the heart. There is no philosophical depth in them. They don't have an understanding of the Vedas. And they said that the people who are Bhakti Yogis, they are not intelligent and they do not seek the knowledge in the Vedas. But Lord Krishna himself says in the Vedas and also in the Gita that one can only come into Bhakti Yoga after many lifetimes of cultivating knowledge. In fact, Bhakti is the culmination and the very purpose of acquiring the knowledge of the Vedas. Okay? So, again, chapter 7, text 19. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. You can hear me now? Yeah. So, Krishna says that such a great soul is actually very rare. Okay? People who take to Bhakti Yoga are the most perfected beings. Okay? So, has anyone got any questions now? Because now we're going to open the floor. If anyone has any questions from any of the sessions that we have done, we can now discuss, or we can just recap quickly what we have done here in session 6. Yoga means to link the soul to God. Now we can link to God through many ways. God has 3 features, and then different yoga paths culminate in one of these 3 features that we already saw previously. Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga path, as its culmination is in the Bhagwan feature of God, which is the topmost and the last word of the absolute truth. Bhakti Yoga is independent, and all other yogas have to have some element of Bhakti Yoga for its perfection. And the indirect method is fraught with difficulty, but Bhakti Yoga is the most sublime path and easiest to perform, and at the same time it awards one the highest goal, love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay? Now, question time. Anyone has got any questions?
They don't give us.
If they don't, I ask. I don't. I think everyone will just go without having Mahaprasad then. Yes.
So, for the most layperson, how do we perform Bhakti Yoga in our day-to-day life?
So, how to perform Bhakti Yoga in our day-to-day life? So, there were 9 processes of Bhakti that we discussed, and the first one is doing Shravanam and Kirtanam. Let's go back to that. Yeah, Shravanam and Kirtanam. Just start with these 2 things. Start by hearing about the Lord and start chanting His glories. How do we do that? Easiest method is through the chanting process. Take a japamala and concentrate on Krishna. If I have to give you an example, okay, you are a married man. Yes, you are a married man. How did you start to love your wife? Yeah. You know what? You're the one who asked the question. Okay. What did you do? What increased your attraction for your wife?
By talking to her,
You're talking to her, then
by seeing her,
seeing her,
that's right,
yeah,
or listening to her.
listening to her. So if you want to increase your connection with somebody, this is what you do. You start hearing about them. You start discussing, oh, that this person is so good, this person is so good. Look at what he has, look at what she has. You're getting attracted to that person by hearing about them first of all, by chanting about them, and by remembering about them. Look, next one, Vishnu Swaram. When you're doing your job, where is your mind? Your mind is in thinking about your beloved, right? So it's very simple. Spiritual life, the principles are very similar to material life. The only change here is a change of consciousness. Yeah, you're performing your material life in a material consciousness. You just change the consciousness from a materialistic view to a spiritual view, and you will understand how bhakti is working. Yeah? You go to the temple, even the devotees are eating food. But no, they're not actually eating food. They're eating what is called prashadam. While a common man would be eating his karmic food, devotees eat food which is completely spiritualized. So the act is the same, eating. One person is getting reactions for it, another person is not getting reactions for it because it has been sanctified, because it's been offered to God in a loving, devotional way.
A good example is Prabhupada himself. He came in said in the Damodar temple, why he take struggle to go to the New York? For what reason? He earned so much money to build the temple. What is the purpose behind that? The work is the same, but the purpose is different. How Prabhupada says,
Uh, Okay, so what I understand from that is that many businessmen, they are very much interested in expanding their empire, right? They're expanding, but at the end of it all, who is it for? It is for them and their immediate family members or people who they love, right? But Prabhupada, he did all of that. He went to America with less than $40 or 40 rupees, and $8, yeah, $8, and he was able to create 108 temples. He created so many things that from if a materialistic person looks at it, it's like this guy is a genius businessman. But what is Prabhupada's underlying consciousness? He was doing everything for who? He was doing for Krishna. Yeah, so in a way, a businessman could start from nothing and earn crore of money. And Prabhupada ji also did the same. He started from zero, and by the time he departed, he had already opened 108 centers and temples. So, in a purely business point of view, you might say even Prabhupada was a very good businessman. But no, this consciousness was not to do business, not for himself. It was to do it for Krishna. Okay? Yes.
I still want you to enhance this a little bit more. For the ABC, think of somebody who is completely not in bhakti,
Yeah.
has never read the Bhagavad-Gita
Yeah.
before this session,
Yeah.
or before this sixth session, okay? So if you take those ABC things, the absolute basic, what would be those A, B, and C of bhakti from you?
Okay.
And then, of course, they can, and those are the first three steps, and then they can discover the journey along their own road. But how does somebody start?
So as I said, since you brought up this A B C D, let's do it A B C D. So A, association. An association of who? Of devotees. B, read books, read spiritual books. That will give you understanding of spiritual matters. C, do your chanting. Books will give you theory. Chanting gives you applied. Yeah? Applied knowledge. Okay? And then D is, huh? I mean, you can put dancing, but also mainly is diet, because the main. Have you heard of that expression? You are what you eat. Yeah, and this is just saying diet, but actually it's to make wholesale lifestyle changes. If you want to access spiritual knowledge and an understanding of bhakti, you need to qualify yourself. Yeah, you cannot just go to any college and earn a dental degree. Yeah, you need to, if you want to get a very good knowledge, you go to the best dental colleges. But for that, you need to show that you've got the grades to get into that college, right? So by making lifestyle changes which facilitate spiritual cultivation, spiritual growth, then you'll be able to get more and more into bhakti. So as you said, you are the ABCDs, these are the ABCDs. Okay? Any other questions? Yes. Anyone? Please, Mike.
Is it necessary to take the Mara and chanting? Only chanting does it help?
Yes. As we said that there are 9 processes. Even if you just do one of these perfectly, you get perfection. In fact, there is actually examples of personalities who just did one of these, only one, and they got perfection.
What she's
Yeah.
asking is, can you not just chant without having a mala in your hand?
Well, you can because ultimately the aim of it is to remember God. But the reason why we have japa mala beads, there are many reasons for it, but one is it improves concentration. Yeah, it improves the quality of your chanting. That's why we also do it. And then of course there are many other benefits of doing it on tulsi malas as well. But doing it on beads it helps to increase your concentration. It focuses your mind on that. For example,
With the touch, sense of touch.
the sense of touch. But I'm trying to think of an example. Say if you're thirsty, where would you go to get water? To quench your thirst. Where would you go to quench your thirst? You go to a tap. Yeah, you go to a tap. Yeah, because tap is a tangible source of where you can get the water from. But I would also say there's water in the atmosphere. Yeah? Why can't you just put your tongue out and drink the water from the atmosphere? Yeah? You can't. You need something tangible for you to be able to concentrate your mind on something. And so the japa mala means help for that purpose. Yeah?
Who are the big personality who really each of these processes?
Okay. Actually, I mean, I can see some devotees in here. So maybe we can ask them who perfected bhakti through the hearing process. Parikshit Maharaj. Chanting or speaking? Shukdeva Goswami. He got perfection by reciting and chanting the Bhagavatam and the glories of the Lord that way. And Haridas Thakur as well. Vishnu Smarana, who was remembering the Lord constantly? Prahlad, then there is, Akrura comes here. Vandan. Archanam, Prithu Maharaj. Then Vandanam, Akrura. How many of you know Akrura? Just by offering obeisances to the Lord, he got the perfection in bhakti. Pada Sevanam, Lakshmi Devi. Dashyam. Hanumanji. He acted as a personal servant of Lord Ram. Sakyam, Arjuna, and Atma Nivedanam. Oh, Bali Maharaj. Yes. So we have examples in the Bhagavatam, in the Gita, of people who did different processes of bhakti, and they perfected it. And one person who did all of these is called Ambarish Maharaj. He is perfect in all of these. Ambarish Maharaj. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah? Okay, so that is the end of the course. I hope you guys have got a lot of more insight and a more comprehensive view of what is actually discussed in the Gita. I have also taken material from other sources to supplement the understanding, and in a few weeks' time, probably 3 or 4 weeks' time, we are going to release another course. So this was understanding the Gita through the thematic explanation. So we cover the 5 themes. And now we are going to go a bit more detailed. We are going to go chapter wise. Okay? Each chapter we will summarize and we will present it to you for your understanding. So that hopefully by going through this course, the basics course, and then the chapter by chapter course, then you will have a much more solid understanding of what the Gita is talking about, and then it will help hopefully inspire you to continue your journey in understanding the Gita and applying it in your lives. Okay? So thank you so much for everyone for coming and joining. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.